Welcome to Women Invested, Women on a Mission to Change the World, a video interview series to help tell the story of how women in the socially responsive investing industry are helping create positive change around the world. I'm Teri Van Winkle with Natural Investments, and my co-host joining me today, Malaika Mafalala. And we have two wonderful guests we're really excited to talk with today. They are both co-owners, worker owners with Namaste Solar Cooperative based in Boulder, Colorado, Amanda Bybee and Teri Lema. Welcome, Amanda and Teri.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thanks for this opportunity to talk about a company we love.
So Amanda is a co-owner and director of strategic planning and initiatives. She's worked in the solar industry since 2003, first promoting renewable energy policy in Austin, Texas, while at Public Citizen, then at Meridian Energy Systems, before finding her home at Namaste Solar. Amanda joined Namaste in January 2006 as an early member of the team. She has held numerous roles over the years, from business administration to human resources to sales and design. Today, Amanda serves as the Director of Strategic Planning and Initiatives, devoting her energy to strategic planning and special projects that benefit the company and its customers. She is a passionate advocate for Namaste Solar's unique employee-owned holistic business model, and we are super excited to hear more about that. And she's excited to extend Namaste Solar's reach on a national scale through their commercial service offerings. She obtained a bachelor's in English and French from the University of Texas at Austin, and through solar has found her inner engineer.
All right. And Teri is a 10-year plus co-owner at Namaste Solar. She's their HR specialist and the lead recruiter for the company. Teri joined Namaste Solar as a full-time accountant in 2006, bringing with her a background in small business management and bookkeeping. She has recently moved into a new recruiting role on the human resources team, finding a passion for the people side of Namaste Solar's business. Teri previously worked for a small software design firm as their business manager. Teri studied business administration at Anna Maria College and transpersonal psychology at Naropa University, right there in Boulder. Yeah, I've been there.
Oh,
In Naropa, yeah.
That's what brought me to Boulder in the first place.
Yeah, well, I'd like to kick off our interview questions here with you, just asking you to introduce the listeners to the kind of work that Namaste Solar does, and to in terms of creating positive change in the world.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much for having us here. We are of the series. Namaste Solar is fundamentally a design, build, and maintain shop for solar electric systems for both homes, businesses, nonprofits, governmental entities, etc. We're headquartered in Colorado, but we also have recently expanded to the northeastern United States and to Southern California. And I thought it might be relevant to understand what our mission is, to see that solar is a huge part of what we do, but we believe just as passionately in how we do what we do. So the mission of Namaste Solar is to propagate the responsible use of solar energy, to pioneer conscientious business practices, and to create holistic wealth for ourselves and our communities. And being an employee-owned cooperative, and we've been a cooperative since 2011, but we've been employee-owned since the beginning of time. And we are very, very passionate about that business model because we believe that it's an alternative to the conventional sort of capitalist model of how companies are set up today. And we believe so strongly in that we do a lot of speaking locally and nationally about the topic, and put quite a lot of time and energy into that side of how we create positive change in the world.
Tell us a little bit more about what it means for Namaste to be a worker-owned cooperative. What does that really look like?
When we started Namaste Solar, it was founded with the concept that, and I always mistake this quote, but no one of us is smarter than all of us. And all of the workers that, all of the people that work at Namaste Solar are the direct beneficiary and the folks that put their heart and soul in controlling how the business operates, the policies that we operate under, and it really transforms how you feel about the place that you work, that sense of ownership versus a traditional, as Amanda was talking about, a traditional capitalized company where you have a group of non-working investors that typically are invested in making money off of their investment, and there being a responsibility in the company to do everything you can to make money for those shareholders. Well, when you're the worker and the owner, you get to decide how you want to invest your money. So, and I think that really aligns with Namaste Solar being a certified B Corp. We were able to choose that there are other stakeholders important in the success of Namaste Solar, aside from just the investors. And it's been such a fantastic alignment with my personal values and the values of my colleagues to be able to be in business where the workers are the owners of the company. And often when I talk about it, I say it's the difference between renting a car and owning a car. And we are all those car owners. We different way, and sometimes it's a nuanced way, but when I hear my husband tell stories about his company that is not a worker-owned company, I can just see the difference in how people engage and care.
So just a follow-up question real quick. Can you give us an example of something that is different than we might have experienced in a traditionally owned company? What's the specific way that Namaste functions?
So one example that comes to mind is the level of investment we make in education for all of our co-owners. A lot of people join the company never having seen financial statements, never having seen a P&L, a profit and loss, or a balance sheet. And so we hold bi-monthly big picture meetings to acquaint people with all the working, where we do regular reviews of our financial progress, of how we're performing this year. But we also introduce discussion items for policies or matters that affect the company. And I think even among employee-owned cooperatives, Namaste Solar is somewhat unique in the degree that we take that ownership. We joke about the Namaste MBA. So one of our early goals was that we wanted everyone who came and worked in our company to be able to go out and start another company if they so desired, that they would have enough knowledge about the breadth of issues that you need to know as the owner of a company to do that. And I think even within the world of cooperatives, there's a great spectrum of how people function on a day-to-day basis. For us, we try very hard to make ownership meaningful, not just in terms of the capital aspect, but also in terms of the management. And when we engage people in these discussions about matters of importance to the company, it deepens the spirit of ownership that people hold and that they bring into their day-to-day work.
And I'll give another example, and I think we'll have to limit it at that because we could probably talk for hours about why Namaste Solar is different. But one of the aspects of the company that I cherish is our commitment to transparency. We joke that there are some folks who come in that we call corporate refugees that are not familiar with transparency. Because we are all co-owners, and if you want to engage as a co-owner, you need information to know how to vote, because that is your right as an owner of the company. And so we're very transparent. Every meeting that we have, including our board of directors meetings, are open to any co-owner to call in to actually join in. You may not have a vote on that team, but you are absolutely able to join the team, ask a question as a co-owner. And I think that is something I find helps with that Namaste MBA. You're really brought on the journey of how different teams and different people in our organization struggle with business topics. as well as we are transparent about our salaries. I mean, if you're going to be a co-owner of a company, any co-owner would know what salaries we're paying, and it's really helpful. And it's also something I also cherish about Namaste Solar, is that we are transparent about our salaries, willing to engage in those difficult discussions when people aren't seeing eye to eye about how they're being paid, or not seeing eye to eye on a specific business issue that's now being made public because it's just open. And of course, the juicier the topic, the more people want to know. And so we're committed to having that information available to any co-owner that is interested.
I feel like the worker-owned cooperative is really, I see it as a pretty revolutionary model for transforming how business is done. And I love that term you used, the corporate refugee. I think that's really interesting. But I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about Namaste Solar's formation and the relationship that you have had with other cooperatives as role models. Could you speak to that, about who you've learned from and who has been a good role model for Namaste Solar?
Absolutely. So when Namaste Solar was first founded in 2005, it was founded as an employee-owned company. And the co-founders had a sort of revolutionary idea there as well, which was that the people who joined the company were considered co-owners on day one. So there was no trial period, there was no waiting game. So Teri and I have been co-owners for over 10 years now, each of us. In 2009, we started realizing that, like a lot of companies that develop organically, the corporate model wasn't aligning as well with our operational model. We had a custom shareholder agreement that had a pretty standard setup. Each share entitled an owner to one vote. And over time, the people who joined later on were not able to purchase as many shares, so we ended up with a sort of accidental concentration of power among the early joiners of the company. And that began to feel uncomfortable because on an operational level, we function very much on a one person, one vote basis. So we started researching whether there would be other ways to restructure the governance aspect to be better aligned with how we do business day to day. And that's when we started looking more seriously at the cooperative model. During that time, we had a whole task force of people who were responsible for doing the research and reporting back to the other co-owners. And we became very close with the folks at Equal Exchange. They've been a worker-owned cooperative for over 20 years and have been very successful pioneering some pretty radical ideas within their capital structure. And they were incredibly helpful and forthcoming and kind and generous with their time.
They were cooperative.
They were cooperative. And were tremendous mentors to us as we completed that journey. And so in addition to Equal Exchange, which I would say was our primary mentor and role model there, we've gotten to know other companies. Chroma Technologies is one. A number of other B Corps that have inspirational business models.
Bakery,
Alvarado Street Bakery. But I think Equal Exchange deserves a special credit in that list of amazing companies because they were really so influential. And then a few years later, after we decided to add external members to our board of directors, the very first one was Daniel Fireside, who is the capital coordinator of Equal Exchange. And so he's been an awesome figure on our board, and really, he was such a great cultural fit, both from the cooperative aspect and just who he is. It helped us gain more confidence and comfort with the idea of sharing some control on our board with non-employee owners.
Yeah, so the legacy of Equal Exchange lives on not only through our very first external board member, but at a certain point, Equal Exchange had helped us so much, we felt guilty. We said, can we pay you? And they said, you know what, just buy our coffee.
Oh,
yeah. So when you visit our offices, we have Equal Exchange coffee, and if you, not that we're doing an ad for Equal Exchange here, but it's really good coffee. So I consider that a win-win.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks for sharing all that.
My clients who are local and come into my office get Equal Exchange mini chocolates too. So,
how are women and families in particular positively impacted through the work of Namaste Solar?
Sure. You know, what Namaste Solar does on a day-to-day basis is that we install solar electric systems on homes and businesses. And when I did sales, one of my favorite things was at the end of a project to go back to a home and present them with their user manual for their solar electric system and to show them how it worked, but also to invite their kids to walk with us. Because the more that children are exposed to this technology at a young age of life, the more normal it will be to them. That was just a part of the house, just like a refrigerator or a stove in the kitchen. And I think what's exciting about that to me is that the next generation will have a different paradigm of what is normal. And it won't be a question of whether or not solar should be added. It'll be included. It'll be part of the package. It will. And that to me is a really important part of changing the way that the world adopts clean energy. And I think that, you know, there's another aspect of this, which is, you know, one of the selling points for solar is that you take a variable cost of living, which is your utility bill, and you level it out, because you may finance your array through a loan or something like that. So you're still paying for it for some number of years. But even when costs go up in future years, you're going to have a hedge against that. And so I think as women are so frequently the head of the family bookkeeping services and, you know, CFOs of their family, if you will, you know, this, what we do provides a level of certainty and consistency that they didn't have before. And as the solar arrays are paid off, of course, then it starts to feel like free electricity. And so I think that does have a really positive impact on women and families.
And I also, you know, thinking about it, that having pay transparency also has a positive impact. You know, that there isn't a pay disparity between men and women in our company. It would be very easy to see, because literally after salary review, there's a spreadsheet that's published and every co-owner gets to see. So I think that's another aspect that benefits women in the way we do business.
Yeah.
Significantly, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, significantly.
We've had a couple of reporters over the years catch on to that, and we were interviewed by David Brancaccio from NPR a few years back for a piece that he did on the relative rareness of pay transparency in private industry, which I think as we watched that story unfold online, there were something like 1,000 comments on that one article. And I think that concept of being out in the world talking about it does extend the impact beyond just the walls of our little company.
I'm going to jump in with a question here, if that's okay. I just think that, you know, I've had the opportunity to learn more about not only Namaste in general, but also your founder, Blake Jones, and kind of how he's really helped lead this culture creation that makes Namaste as the entity that it is really work. And but I just imagine that people who are new to the concept of a worker-owned cooperative could be thinking like, this sounds like a logistical nightmare. Like, how do you do this without all the drama? And like, you know, so could you just share, again, I think this is a deep topic, I'm sure, but just share a couple of things about how you all make this model work?
And I can speak from an HR perspective that when we hire anybody, regardless of their role, they join us as an employee. And after working with us for a period of time, they can decide to petition to become a candidate. And the candidacy period is 1 year where we invest and that person experiences all of the rights, if you will, of co-ownership without the ability to vote. So there are candidate curriculums that we train. That particular candidate is paired with a mentor who is a co-owner, who has been with the company for a while, and helps them through the newness, and then you have like somebody on your side when you're really not clear what to do. Because not only, being a co-owned company, we're not as hierarchical as other companies are, and we tend to steer away from super management type language. We typically refer to people as team leads versus the director or the vice president. And when you're new to a company like that, you're not really sure, well, who do I ask, or how do I go about making a suggestion, making a change, or I'm concerned? Well, you have somebody in your corner that knows how to navigate Namaste, so that we call it the Namaste way. And after a year of experiencing what it's like to be a co-owner without making the investment, you can then petition to become a co-owner. And at that point, there's a number of meetings that we have to be sure that everybody is on board with somebody becoming a co-owner, and we have a vote. And so it takes a year to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some I would say hand-holding along the way, as well as education. And like Amanda said, you start to dip your toe in the Namaste Solar program.
So we'd love to hear a little bit about what how each of you was drawn to this work.
Well, I'll start. So I came to Namaste. I came to Boulder to go to school at Naropa. Mm-hmm. And on day one at Naropa, you learn the word Namaste. And I would ride my bike to school past Namaste Solar Electric, and it had the most gorgeous sign. And it wasn't long, really. It was my first year in Boulder before you start to hear about renewable energy and hearing about solar electric panels on people's homes. I mean, it was such a foreign concept. It's hard to believe 10 years ago that it was like, oh, it was so new. And I looked into applying for the accounting role at Namaste Solar and was really drawn towards Namaste Solar does business. I think with wealth comes responsibility, and I feel that applies to companies as well. And seeing that Namaste Solar isn't about buying it as cheap as possible and selling it for as high as possible. We're really a responsible citizen in our community and in the world, I would even say. And that really appealed to me. We aligned ourselves, not with the least expensive tax accountant you can find in Boulder, but we aligned ourselves with a tax accountant who believed in solar. And I think he bought 3 systems from us at this point. I mean, and so we were really able to, in those early days, align ourselves with people who believed in our mission as well as renewable energy. And that very much appealed to me as a business owner.
And for me, I graduated from college and was trying to figure out what to do with my life. I asked myself a question, that if I was going to line up all the problems in the world as dominoes in a domino chain, what would be the first problem in that list? Knowing that I am a person that needs to work on a problem. I need to be working towards a solution for humanity,
No small deal.
No pressure on that front. I determined that the top 2 dominoes in that chain were education and energy. And of the 2, I decided to put energy at the front, because without reliable, affordable, clean energy, even education is a lot harder to uphold. And I'm from Texas originally, and my dad's an oil and gas man, as they all are. But I wanted to be part of the next generation. And I was fortunate to work at a nonprofit organization who had devoted itself to promoting renewable energy policy. So I entered the arena from that angle, but also found that I really love business. And I love the freedom of working in a progressive business like Namaste Solar, that we, as long as we have customers willing to buy our product and keep our company healthy, we have a lot of freedom in how we use the power of our business. And I think that's also part of the appeal of the B Corp model and the stakeholder balancing concept, that speaks directly to my values. And so I love the mission of Namaste Solar. Obviously have it committed to memory, because it says everything that I find so important. Clean energy and using the power of business as a force for good in the world.
Has there been something in particular that you could identify that you feel is really unique about Namaste's contribution in the field of the solar industry?
We're a electrical contractor that specializes in solar. And as we've grown and taken on larger commercial projects, we are told time and time again about how people like working with our company. And maybe you could speak a little bit more about how we approach. We approach our vendors and our customers as partners and look to make a partnership on a project versus, going back to what I said before, is finding the cheapest contractor we could work with and then trying to sell it for as much as possible. And I feel like in that space, in that electrical contracting space, Namaste Solar stands out because of the quality people we have. And I think that stems from those folks being owners of the company, the standards that we hold ourselves to with regards to the core values. I think that people experience when they work with our folks. And I have absolutely heard this, that people in that contracting space like working with Namaste Solar.
Yeah, I certainly think all of that is true. And though we can't claim to have come up with the idea of employee ownership, I think our advocacy of that within our field has been a hallmark of our contribution. And both Blake Jones, our co-founder, and myself, we've spoken extensively about this to other solar companies, model as much as we can, as well as the B Corp certification. And I think one step further in that vein, we also didn't pioneer it, but we adopted a lot of the unique aspects of equal exchange capital model. And even within a progressive community like the B Corps, we still have a lot of explaining to do about the nature of the different share types and how they, when we talk about ownership, voting rights are restricted to the employee owners, and therefore the control of the company, it lies exclusively with the people who live and work and breathe this company. And I think that too pushes the boundaries of what people understand about capital and how we can compensate and how we reward ownership by the employee.
And I would also add as well that we like to create new cooperatives.
So, this is true. We're working on our third and fourth spin-off cooperatives at the moment.
Oh, yeah. So tell us about one of those.
For the last 2.5 years, we have been working on chartering a new federal credit union. This will be a completely independent financial called the Clean Energy Federal Credit Union. We are in the final stages of the charter application process with the federal government. And once it's up and running, the idea is that the cooperative or the credit union will provide loans for all types of clean energy products and services, but that it will have this very unique twist on all of the different types of loans. So, just like any financial institution, it will offer auto loans, but it will have to be for an electric vehicle or a hybrid electric vehicle, or maybe a very high fuel efficiency vehicle, or a Libra. If you want to get a home improvement loan, it would have to be for energy efficiency improvements or solar hot water systems. Someday we'll offer mortgages, and the home will have to be Energy Star certified. So everything that we offer will be conventional in some sense, but with this twist.
Wow.
An energy twist.
Love it.
And then the fourth one that we're looking to spin off would actually be a cooperative to support the long-term operations and maintenance of solar electric systems throughout the country. And so this would be a cooperative network of solar companies around the country who work together to service portfolios of systems that are widely geographically dispersed.
Cool. We look forward to hearing about both of those as they unfold. Super. So, the work that Malika and I do is really around socially responsive investing and impact investing. And we'd love to hear from you all about why you think that's important in the world.
I always start with this, and it's one of those things where I came by it naturally and then found out that it's a thing that everybody does. So much for original thought.
There's a name for that?
But I got to a point in my life where I realized that you vote with your dollar. And I really believe that. If you want to know what you value or what your values are, look how you spend your money. And I practice that with regards to even just my household's personal finances. And I think investing, it's just money makes the world go round. And what greater way to make change than like the Federal Credit Union that Amanda spoke about, create money for the kind of change we want to see in the world. And that being conscious of how what you support with your money affects life in this country and the world is where
And I believe so much in the power of business to influence the world. I don't, the concept of the B Corp, the multi-stakeholder model resonates so deeply with me. And Teri and I are both investors and operators of socially responsible business. And part of the motivation, at least for me, is that I want to show the world that you can be a socially responsible business and be profitable. Mm-hmm. And we measure our success by both conventional metrics and holistic metrics that are maybe a little softer, a little harder to track. But we want to show everyone that it can be successful by any metric. And I want to help, through our work in this vein, I want to help dispel the idea that socially responsible investing has a lower yield. Like, I don't want that to be a sacrifice. I just want it to be a choice that people can make about where they put their dollars. And it's been such an exciting thing to see this area of investment grow over the last several years. Because like Teri, I didn't know that was a thing when I first invested in Namaste Solar. And yet to see a whole economy beginning to blossom and to feel not only satisfied as I see my own investment portfolio grow, but also to feel the satisfaction of knowing that those companies are making the world better somehow. It's a priceless feeling. And so I feel it as an investor, and I feel it as a business operator, that we want this to be successful from every angle, because the more it grows and the more it self-perpetuates, the better it will be.
And on another perspective, when you talked earlier about having solar on a home and the next generation just thinking that's how you do it, I feel that the conscious or the social impact investing is, hey, we're talking about that it's new, but the next generation, I even see it with the applicants that come to Namaste Solar. Mm-hmm. They want to know what you are up to as a company that's doing something better for the world, because that's where I want to apply my talents. Mm-hmm. And I just see the next generation, this not being a new concept or something, it's just how investment works. And I'm so excited about investment platforms that you see online, like, and the name escapes me, Kickstarter and GoFundMe, all of these ways to be able to make an impact as a very even with small investments to make a difference.
Well, what a pleasure it's been to listen to your stories and your explanation of what Namaste Solar has been doing, what has brought you to this sector personally, and kind of the impact that Namaste Solar is having in the world. one of the things that I know, one of the statistics I know about Namaste Solar, just as an example of one thing that is markedly different within your industry, is that in the solar installation industry, I understand that employee turnover is really, really high. And it's one of the things that makes it kind of an unstable industry when you're an employee, as well as perhaps a customer being serviced by a company where there's a lot of turnover. So I happen to know that that long-term commitment, you guys being representative of that, having been there from the beginning of this company and feeling and expressing the passion for your company and the culture of your company, it seems like that's a really widespread experience within the culture of Namaste that reflects on your work in the community, the experience that customers have, and your ability to be a role model for others. I love that you're also an example of gender pay equity through the transparency that you model within your company. And I think, I just want to close by asking, if there's anything else that you feel like is really important you want to highlight as we wrap up here about your work and the work of Namaste Solar.
I think for me, it's more of a compliment to the work you're both doing with getting the message out about social impact investing. That means and is so aligned with Namaste Solar's values that I am so grateful to have this opportunity to tell our story and to highlight the work that you're doing as well.
When the co-founders chose the name Namaste Solar, they defined Namaste as a Sanskrit greeting of great respect that recognizes the interdependence of all living things. And in a word that captures our corporate philosophy. And I think that, it speaks to what Teri just said, that the work that you do feeds us and the work that we do feeds you. And it's that interdependent relationship. And I love being a part of a community that understands that. And rather than feeling threatened or fearful about, oh, well, it doesn't work if one piece falls apart, instead we celebrate the collaborative nature of this interdependence. So I think that Namaste Solar as a company has taken a lot of steps over the years to be that good citizen and to really invest in people and invest in ideas that make our world a better place by example and by impact. And, clearly we are biased, but we really do believe that it's a unique and special company in that regard. And, people who've gone out into the world from here very often come back because they can't find that thing in other companies. We've actually had quite a series of what we call boomerangs, of people who have worked at the company for some number of years and then left to pursue other adventures, but who've come home and said, this is home for me.
Amazing. And with that, we thank you both so much for your time and sharing the good story of your work in the world and Namaste Solar's impact in the world in many, many ways. So thanks to you both, and thanks for watching.
Namaste.
Namaste.